What happens when two of the loudest voices in media, Joe Budden and Marc Lamont, publicly call out one of the most high-profile women in entertainment, Melyssa Ford? The internet explodes, of course. But this isn't just another social media feud. Because when Budden and Hill took aim, they didn't hold back. Every comment, every dig, every sarcastic remark was calculated to hit hard. And the reaction? Predictable, yet shocking. Melyssa Ford, known for her poise and influence, didn't stay silent. Instead, she responded in a way that no one saw coming, a response that is now going viral, dominating timelines and igniting debates across platforms. People are asking the same question over and over. Did she just shut them down or escalate the situation further? This isn't just drama for likes or views. It's a clash of reputations, influence, and power in real time. The stakes are high, the words are sharp, and the fallout is unpredictable. And as the clips spread online, fans, haters, and curious onlookers are left holding their breath, waiting for the next move, analyzing every emoji, every comment, every subtle hint in her response. Because in today's social media age, one tweet, one story, or one comment can change everything, and this showdown between Joe Budden, Marc Lamont, and Melyssa Ford might just rewrite the rules of celebrity feuds forever. And once Melyssa Ford hit back, the internet didn't just notice. It erupted. Every comment, like, and share was dissected by fans, media outlets, and social media detectives. Suddenly, the feud wasn't just between Budden, Hill, and Ford. It became a nationwide conversation about influence, respect, and power dynamics in media. Joe Budden, known for his bluntness and sharp tongue, wasn't holding back. Every word he said was calculated, a mix of criticism and provocation. He targeted not just Melyssa Ford's career moves, but her public persona, questioning decisions she made years ago, actions people had long forgotten. But Budden knows exactly what he's doing. His words are designed to spark reaction. And reaction is the currency of today's social media. Marc Lamont, meanwhile, approached it differently. He added a mix of intellectual critique and social commentary, framing his remarks as a perspective on media, culture, and influence. But even with a more measured tone, his words hit hard, and when paired with Budden's fiery style, it was impossible for anyone to ignore. Together, their statements created a perfect storm, and Melyssa Ford found herself in the eye of it. Her response, however, wasn't defensive. It wasn't panic-driven. It was strategic. It commanded attention. Fans immediately began analyzing every word, emoji, and subtle implication, debating whether she had perfectly dismantled their arguments or subtly escalated the situation. The tension on social media became palpable. Threads exploded. Video clips went viral. Headlines were rewritten. This was no longer a conversation about a single post. It became a cultural moment. And what makes this story even more intense? The power dynamic. Joe Budden and Marc Lamont are both men with massive influence and long-standing credibility. Melyssa Ford, while undeniably influential herself, is navigating an arena historically dominated by men who control the narrative. Every response she made, every comment she tweeted, was dissected as a sign of strength, defiance, or vulnerability, and the stakes couldn't be higher. People started revisiting her past work, looking for context. Old interviews, past social media posts, and career milestones were suddenly relevant again. Fans debated whether the feud was personal, professional, or a mix of both. And as the conversation unfolded, the lines between celebrity culture, social media influence, and public perception blurred completely. Then there's the emotional factor. Melyssa Ford has always maintained a composed public persona, but behind the tweets and posts is a woman confronting criticism from some of the most visible voices in media. And in today's digital age, visibility equals vulnerability. One misstep, one misunderstood comment, and the narrative can instantly shift against you. That's the kind of pressure her response carried, and why it became so widely discussed. Adding to the intrigue is the audience's role. Social media isn't passive. Every fan, follower, and viewer is part of the story. They comment, share, speculate, and create memes, amplifying the impact of the feud. Suddenly, what began as a conversation between three people became a massive cultural spectacle. Each reaction fueled the next, creating a loop where every statement, every post, and every reply gained more significance. And then there's timing. Timing is everything in social media feuds, and this one couldn't have been more explosive. The moment Melyssa responded, audiences were primed, watching, waiting, and recording. Every post she made was scrutinized frame by frame. Analysts broke down word choice, tone, and intention. Even the most subtle nuances became evidence of dominance, cleverness, or strategy. The stakes are further amplified by history. Joe Budden and Marc Lamont Hill are not new to controversy. Their previous statements, podcast segments, and interviews have often gone viral, making them experts at controlling narratives. But in this case, their target, Melyssa Ford, has a reputation for poise, wit, and influence. This isn't just a clash of voices, it's a clash of authority, strategy, and social power. Fans didn't just watch passively. Social media analytics exploded. Engagement numbers skyrocketed. Hashtags trended. Memes circulated in seconds. Everyone wanted in on the conversation. Every influencer, journalist, and creator added commentary, turning a single dispute into a massive cultural conversation. The tension escalated as debates split into camps. Some sided with Joe Budden, praising his straightforward critique. Others aligned with Marc Lamont Hill, appreciating his analytical lens. And a growing number of people championed Melyssa Ford, admiring her composure, quick wit, and ability to respond strategically under immense pressure. This mix of public scrutiny, social media virality, and celebrity influence creates a perfect storm, a moment where careers, reputations, and narratives are all on the line. One wrong word could shift perception instantly, while a single clever reply could elevate someone's status even higher. And that's exactly what made Melyssa Ford's response so powerful. But the intrigue doesn't stop there. Behind every viral feud, there's always speculation. Was this spontaneous or calculated? Was Melyssa Ford reacting in the moment, or was her response part of a larger strategy to assert influence and control the narrative? Fans debated endlessly, dissecting patterns, timing, and subtle cues in her posts. Every tiny detail became a potential clue. Meanwhile, the ripple effect reached far beyond the primary participants. Other celebrities, influencers, and media personalities began weighing in, each comment further amplifying the original feud. Suddenly, a single exchange between three people had transformed into a cultural event, with thousands of participants shaping and reshaping the story in real time. Even memes and short-form videos played a role. Each iteration spread faster than the last, often framing the feud in humorous, exaggerated, or sensational ways. This secondary wave of virality, and as the dust settles, one thing is clear: this isn't over. The story continues to spark conversation, debate, and speculation. Every new post, reaction, or comment has the potential to reignite the feud, and social media audiences are watching closely. Because in today's culture, feuds aren't just entertainment. They're power plays. They're tests of influence. And in the case of Joe Budden, Marc Lamont Hill, and Melyssa Ford, it's clear that every word matters and no one is willing to back down. As the feud between Joe Budden, Marc Lamont Hill, and Melyssa Ford continued to unfold, the reactions only intensified. Social media had become the battlefield, and every post was a strike, every comment a counter. Fans weren't just watching, they were participating, dissecting, and taking sides in real time. The first wave of responses focused on tone. Budden's words were sharp, unapologetic, and direct. Every phrase seemed designed to provoke, calling into question not just Ford's actions, but her public persona. Fans quickly noted his ability to frame criticism in a way that feels entertaining yet biting, a skill he's honed over years of podcasting. His influence meant that when he spoke, people listened. And when he targeted someone with his words, the internet amplified them exponentially. Marc Lamont Hill, in contrast, approached it from a more analytical perspective. His critiques were framed with context, history, and social commentary. On the surface, it may have appeared less aggressive than Budden, but the effect was equally impactful. By dissecting the situation and framing it as part of a larger conversation about media, culture, and influence, Hill elevated the discussion from mere gossip to something people felt compelled to debate. Then came Melyssa Ford's response, the moment everything shifted. Unlike typical reactions on social media, hers wasn't defensive or emotional. It was calculated, clever, and perfectly timed. Fans immediately recognized that she was controlling the narrative, turning the attention back on those who had criticized her. Every word, emoji, and subtle implication was analyzed. Was she shutting them down, asserting dominance, or cleverly deflecting? The ambiguity kept people engaged, sharing screenshots and clips at a rapid pace. What made her response even more compelling was her mastery of public perception. Social media thrives on narrative, and Ford understood that every post contributes to one. Instead of reacting impulsively, she leveraged the feud to reinforce her influence and public persona. Analysts began dissecting her strategy, how she framed her responses, the timing, and even the subtle references that only some fans would notice. Each layer added depth, intrigue, and virality. And the audience played their part. Every comment, meme, and viral clip created a feedback loop, amplifying the story further. Social media users weren't just consuming content, they were interpreting, debating, and reshaping it. Fans split into camps. Some sided with Budden, praising his bluntness. Others defended Hill's analytical take, and a significant portion cheered Ford for her poise and cleverness. This division fueled engagement, ensuring the feud stayed in the spotlight longer than a typical social media spat. The stakes escalated as secondary narratives emerged. People began digging into past interactions, old interviews, and historical context. Threads examined prior collaborations, previous controversies, and offhand comments from years ago. Suddenly, the feud became a lens through which people revisited cultural moments and media history. Even subtle details, like Ford's use of certain phrases or timing of her posts, were scrutinized as if they contained hidden messages or signals. Influencers and media outlets also joined the discussion. Podcasts, YouTube channels, and news sites began breaking down the feud frame by frame. Clips were replayed, soundbites analyzed, and theories debated. Each analysis created another layer of exposure, adding to the drama and giving the feud an even broader reach. It was no longer just a confrontation between three people. It had become a cultural moment, a case study in influence, strategy, and social power. At the same time, emotional stakes were high. Melyssa Ford was navigating criticism from two powerful men with long-standing influence. Any misstep could have amplified negative perceptions or damaged her reputation. But her response wasn't just defensive. It was strategic. It showed control, wit, and timing qualities that made her stand out, even in the volatile world of celebrity social media. The tension didn't stop there. Fans speculated about potential future moves. Would Budden respond again? Would Hill issue another analytical critique? Or would Ford escalate further, keeping everyone on edge? Every post, every reply, and every subtle action became part of a high-stakes chess game that unfolded in real time. Then came the memes and viral moments. Every clever line, reaction clip, or sarcastic reply became fodder for social media humor. TikTok creators and meme accounts amplified the story, sometimes exaggerating events, sometimes highlighting nuance. These secondary waves of virality ensured that the feud remained in public attention for longer than traditional news cycles, blending entertainment with real-life tension. The role of timing also played a massive part. Ford's responses weren't just well-worded, they were strategically timed to maximize visibility. Posting at peak engagement periods, responding after major commentary, and even leveraging trending hashtags, she ensured that her side of the story was seen, shared, and dissected by millions. Timing in social media feuds can determine dominance, and in this case, Ford clearly understood the power of it. Meanwhile, fan reactions continued to evolve. Initial shock turned into analysis, analysis turned into debate, and debate became a digital spectacle. People were not just responding, they were investing emotionally. Every like, share, comment, or retweet added to the momentum, further solidifying the feud as a topic of massive cultural significance. Another key factor was narrative framing. Budden framed his critique around authenticity, history, and influence. Hill framed his around cultural context and commentary. Ford reframed the narrative entirely, shifting the focus onto strategy, resilience, and influence. This multi-layered storytelling created complexity, intrigue, and engagement at levels rarely seen in typical social media conflicts. Then there's the psychological angle. Social media users tend to analyze public figures' responses not just for content, but for intent. Every subtle emoji, punctuation choice, or phrasing can be interpreted as confidence, sarcasm, defiance, or weakness. Ford's mastery in this domain amplified her perceived control, leaving audiences impressed and speculating endlessly. By now, the feud had transcended entertainment. It became a study in influence, power, and narrative control. Fans debated not just who won, but why. Some praised Ford's strategic poise. Others analyzed Budden's boldness or Hill's perspective. The discussion became intellectual, emotional, and entertaining all at once. Even the historical context added depth. All three participants have careers spanning decades, each with their own influence and reach. This wasn't simply a viral moment, it was a collision of legacy, relevance, and public perception. And in a world where social media can instantly amplify influence, the stakes for each, because now it wasn't just fans reacting, it was influencers, creators, and media outlets joining the conversation. Every subtle implication in Ford's posts became fodder for videos, memes, and opinion threads. Clips of her responses were replayed thousands of times. Every word dissected, every emoji scrutinized. What started as a social media spat became a cultural event, discussed in podcasts, YouTube videos, TikTok reactions, and even mainstream media coverage. Melyssa Ford didn't just respond, she controlled the narrative. And in doing so, she changed the rules of engagement. She didn't attack, she didn't overexpose herself, and she didn't fall into the trap of defending her every move. Instead, she let her responses speak for her, clever, confident, and calculated. The public perception shifted instantly. She wasn't the target, she was the player. Meanwhile, Budden and Hill were forced to navigate a new dynamic. Every public statement they made was now being contrasted with Ford's replies. Critics and fans alike debated who had the upper hand. Some praised Budden for his blunt authenticity. Others analyzed Hill's measured, analytical approach. But the consensus was clear. Melyssa Ford had flipped the script, showing the power of composure in the viral age. And the engagement numbers told the story. Every comment, share, and reaction amplified the feud exponentially. Hashtags began trending, short clips went viral, and memes multiplied across platforms. Even casual viewers were drawn in, trying to decipher who won the battle, who outsmarted whom, and what the implications might be for each person's reputation. The psychological layer made the story even more gripping. Social media users, conditioned to read between the lines, began analyzing Ford's tone, timing, and phrasing. Was her pause deliberate? Was that emoji sarcastic? Each detail became evidence of strategy, turning the feud into a masterclass in modern digital influence. And then came the cultural conversation. This feud wasn't just personal. It sparked debates about gender dynamics, power, and influence. Two prominent men had publicly criticized a woman who had spent years building her own platform, and the conversation naturally evolved into a larger discussion about fairness, narrative control, and respect in public spaces. Every post by Ford became more than just a response, it became commentary. Every reaction became part of a broader dialogue about social media, celebrity influence, and gender politics. The stakes escalated even further when Ford started leveraging subtle strategy to extend the story's lifespan. She timed posts to coincide with peak engagement, used trending hashtags, and even posted indirect responses that forced Budden and Hill into reaction mode. This wasn't chaos, it was calculated strategy, and it showcased her understanding of social media's mechanics on a masterful level. Fans noticed. Analysts noticed. Media outlets noticed. And suddenly, the feud wasn't just viral, it was educational, a case study in timing, narrative, and audience psychology. People debated the strategy. Was Ford winning by restraint? By ambiguity? Or by sheer mastery of timing? Each theory spread like wildfire. Then there was the public spectacle. Memes and viral videos added layers of humor, exaggeration, and dramatization. TikTok creators reenacted scenarios, Instagram accounts posted analysis threads, and Twitter exploded with side commentary. What had begun as a personal feud transformed into a full-blown cultural phenomenon. Every action, reaction, and interpretation kept the conversation alive, turning social media into a 24/7 cycle of engagement. And yet, amidst the chaos, one thing remained undeniable: Melyssa Ford controlled the narrative. She had turned criticism into visibility, turning attacks into engagement, and turning a heated feud into a demonstration of influence and strategy. Her ability to respond under pressure without overexposing herself created an aura of authority that few could challenge. Meanwhile, Budden and Hill had to adjust their approach. Every future comment was scrutinized in comparison to Ford's responses. Every post had to consider not only the original feud, but also the ongoing analysis by fans, media, and commentators. In short, Ford had shifted the power balance. Then came the viral tipping point. When Ford posted her final statement, short, witty, and full of subtle defiance, it went viral instantly. Clips were shared, analyzed, and replayed across platforms. It wasn't just social media engagement, it was cultural dominance. People began discussing her strategy not as a feud, but as a blueprint for navigating public conflict online. Analysts called it a masterclass in influence, power, and perception. Fans celebrated her poise and cleverness. Critics debated whether Budden or Hill had underestimated her. And throughout it all, the internet kept amplifying every moment, ensuring that this story would live far beyond the initial comments. Even the timing of the feud contributed to its virality. With both Budden and Hill having established credibility and large followings, and Ford commanding her own audience, the collision was inevitable. Every post, reply, or reaction created momentum, driving engagement and ensuring that the story remained trending across platforms. And that's why this feud isn't just memorable, it's instructive. It highlights how influence works in the modern digital landscape: visibility, timing, strategic responses, narrative control, and audience engagement. Each element amplified the others, creating a perfect storm of virality and cultural relevance. By the end, the narrative had shifted completely. What began as a critique from Budden and Hill became a demonstration of strategy, influence, and control by Ford. She didn't just respond, she dictated the conversation, proving that in the digital age, composure, timing, and strategy can outmatch raw criticism. The final lesson is clear. In today's world, every comment, post, and reaction matters. Influence isn't just about followers, it's about how you wield attention, control perception, and navigate public spaces. And in the case of Joe Budden, Marc Lamont Hill, and Melyssa Ford, Ford's mastery of this landscape ensured that she didn't just survive the feud, she dominated it. As social media continues to evolve, this feud will be remembered as an